And we're back, folks, right here on WrestleRant, where every single Tuesday I, Graham GS and Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking In Your House 12, It's Time, from December of 1996. So shout out to Jason, who I know was in attendance for this very show almost 20 years ago at this point, which is crazy to think about. So I know Jason has been waiting a long time for this review. I'll do my best to do it justice. But we kicked off the show with Flash Funk taking on Leif Cassidy, later on known as Al Snow. In a pretty good match. The crowd was quiet, which was disappointing. Jason, I blame you. But Flash Funk had a really good showing here. Of course, the old Too Cold Scorpio, who I believe came first before he went to ECW or after went to ECW. I forgot what the exact timeline was. The guy was an amazing athlete, really ahead of his time in terms of what he could do in the ring, the shooting star press and all the other shit, or the 450 or whatever the fuck his finisher was. The guy was super impressive in the ring, which is, I don't know, maybe he took the crowd off guard. I think it was perfect in the opening slot, but the crowd really was just not receptive to this match all that much. But still, I thought it was a really, really good match. Flash Funk really impressed me here, and it's a shame he didn't amount to more than he did, which again really isn't, all that surprising. Although he was ahead of his time in the ring, as a character, it was well past its prime. The whole fucking Funkadora shit, Funkasaurus rather. Funkadorus. Yeah, I'm mixing up my words here. The old Brodus Clay gimmick he used to do back in 2012, 2013. That's basically what Flash Funk was. Coming out to the ring with the two dancers and the lights. He was basically Brodus Clay of 1996, 97, and the crowd didn't really care. So maybe that was what turned the crowd off. I don't know. But the match itself was pretty good, though, especially in the opening slot. After that, for the tag team titles, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog defending their gold against quote-unquote Razor Ramon and quote-unquote Diesel. And I say quote-unquote because they're not the real Razor Ramon and the real Diesel. They were the hired hands of Jim Ross and storyline. They were really not that good, but somehow they held their own They held their own here, And Owen Hart and British Bulldog had a great match with them. This was actually a really, really good match. Some nice, suspenseful near falls down the stretch. And it turned into a really fun match. So in the end, Owen Hart and British Bulldog, of course, retaining their titles, still the WWF Tag Team Champions. And the whole, I've talked about it before, but the old Razor Ramon and Diesel trick, bringing back the characters even after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went to WCW, was so fucking stupid. No one bought it at all. The guys weren't really that good. Imagine if they did that today with someone coming up like, I don't know who they would have play the role, but they had like a CM Punk come out every week to cult of personality. I mean, maybe not CM Punk, that's not a good example because they don't own the name CM Punk, but like a Damian Sandow or a fucking whoever is left in the past, like an Alberto Del Rio. They own the name Alberto Del Rio, so they have someone come out like a Sin Cara or something playing the character. It just wouldn't work. Just no one would care. After that, we had Mark Merrow contending for the Intercontinental Championship against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Pretty decent match here. You had some interference from Goldust to set up that feud between Goldust and Triple H going forward, heading into WrestleMania. The match was good. Mark Merrow, like I said, winning via countout. The guy was just really fun to watch in the ring, but like I said before, injuries would plague his career. He really would not amount to his full potential. I think he had one more in-your-house match after he was in the Rumble. He had one more in-your-house match after this before getting hurt, and then he was on the shelf for like 6 months. But this was still a good match. Questionable finish, but they would keep Mark Merrow looking strong, keep the belt on Triple H, heading into his feud with Goldust, heading into WrestleMania. And it was a rematch from Raw, where Triple H won the belt to begin with, which is why he had the championship coming into the show. After that, we had The Undertaker versus The Executioner, Terry Gordy, I believe his name was. The guy, let me just double check. I don't want to fuck up here. Terry Gordy from the Fabulous Freebirds with Paul Bearer in his corner in an Armageddon rules match. This was fucking terrible. Basically a Texas Death Rules match. Essentially last man standing, but you could also pin or submit someone. The match went on for 11 minutes. I think they had Mankind interfere here as well to kind of further that feud again. Even after they had spent the past 8 months feuding, and it was seemingly blown off at the Buried Alive show 2 months prior to this. Apparently not. This was fucking terrible. Terry Gordy was not bad, but he was so drugged up by this point on whatever the hell he was doing, and I think he had passed away, I think, 5 years after this. He was not good. He was canned after this storyline was just terrible. This was not good at all. I feel bad for Jason to having watched it. I mean, again, Mankind's interference almost saved it, but it wasn't enough. this match just sucked. And Terry Gordy was gone from the company shortly thereafterwards, and the Executioner gimmick was canned, thank God, but he was just not what he once was, and this was a massive, not even a disappointment, because I don't know if I was expecting anything good to begin with, but for what they probably wanted out of Terry Gordy by the point when they brought him in, he was not what he should have been. And then the main event, Psycho Sid defending his WWE Championship against the returning Bret Hart. And, he had already come back at Survivor Series, but he was still early on in his return to WWE in storyline. For the WWE title, WF Championship, whatever, in this match. Pretty good match. Not as good as Psycho Sid versus Shawn Michaels. For whatever reason, was just a great match. And Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart are equally excellent in the ring. So it's not like one carried him to a good match and the other didn't. Just, I don't know, something about that match in MSG at Survivor Series 96 really just clicked. And it was a great fucking match. Great show, too. But this match, not quite as good, but still pretty good. In the end, Psycho Sid retaining his WWE Championship after Bret Hart was sent spiraling into Shawn Michaels at ringside on the apron. And Psycho Sid would capitalize with the powerbomb to retain his WWE title to set up Sid versus Shawn Michaels 2 at the Rumble the following month. So overall, a fun show. Taker and Executioner aside, this was a good show, so Jason picked a good show to attend in Florida. Really not a bad match on the show other than the aforementioned Armageddon Rules Taker Executioner match. But overall, a good show that I give one thumbs up. I thought it was pretty solid. Not must-see by any stretch, but it did hold my interest. The crowd was good throughout for the most part, and there were a lot of good to pretty good matches with the exception of the Armageddon Rules match. So that is it, guys. That is my review of In Your House 12. It's time, so check it out on the WWE Network. And in the meantime, and in between time, catch me out and check me out, I guess, on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. And right here on YouTube by liking the video, dropping a comment, sharing the video, and subscribing as well. And next week we are talking, I think, In Your House 13, Final Four. So stay tuned for that, guys. And in the meantime, have an awesome week, and I'll catch you guys down the road.